it's in the breaking we come unbound. And it's in the giving we are found. Yeah, you could barely change.
Welcome to A Medicinal Mind, Wisdom and Wellbeing, a podcast dedicated to the telling of authentic stories and the sharing of insightful wisdom, exploring science and spirituality, medicine and Mother Nature. No topic is off limits when it comes to growing our personal understanding and supporting our collective well-being. With your host, Dr. Rob Abbott, a family medicine resident practicing spiritually focused and evolutionarily informed functional medicine, we hope to nourish your being so that you can flourish in whatever the moment has called for you to do.
And I know you try.
In episode 18 of A Medicinal Mind, Wisdom and Wellbeing, I share an amazing conversation with my new friend, mindful mom, and meditation pioneer, Anna Gannon. As you will hear in the podcast, Anna's story is beyond remarkable, and one that speaks to the beautiful randomness of this life when we finally surrender to the entirely unexplainable. In our conversation, Anna opens up about her journey as the Community and Editorial Lead with Expectful, a web and mobile-based app designed to support mothers and mothers-to-be in developing and maintaining a meditation practice, supporting the health of their child as well as their own. In the podcast, Anna describes the fascinating creative process behind each of Expectful's meditations and the vision for the group going forward as they seek to support women at all stages of life. Digging deeper, Anna and I explore how exactly we can best support mothers months before conception and for months after the birth of their child. Should meditation and support for mind-body practices be as routine as prenatal vitamins? We then discuss some of the barriers faced by mothers and families throughout a pregnancy and the benefits of engaging in a meditation practice, carrying mindfulness into all aspects of one's life. Anna's authentic story is touching beyond measure and left me on more than one occasion with chills and joyful disbelief. I encourage you to check out the show notes for links to connect with Anna and to try out Expectful for yourself. As you will hear from my own mouth, being male or not pregnant is certainly not an excuse to explore some of Expectful's meditations. Whether you are a clinician looking to help your patients or a supporting partner trying to grow your connection with your loved one, I truly believe you will find peace and presence with Expectful and its thoughtful meditations. I am so thankful for Anna's pioneering work and beyond grateful to have connected over our shared mission to support the flourishing of mothers, fathers, and babies-to-be. We really hope you enjoy the show. Well, Anna, thank you so much for joining me today for a conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to get to meet you as well.
Yeah, I know. I think I just realized, we didn't even talk about before we started the show, but where is home for you, by the way?
So home is in New York City. I live in Queens, a little part of Queens called Astoria, which is like the Greek part of New York City.
That's important. You're a city person. Okay. That starts to make sense.
Yep.
Well, I'm a little more rural in Virginia, but I think this just goes to show you that the reason we connected was I think I heard you on James Maskell's on the Evolution of Medicine's podcast describing your work in sort of launching this. I know you just call it an app, you call it a program, like just general awesomeness called Expectful, and really resonated with the story you were telling in your work to bring some meditations to a wider audience. And so would love if you wanted to kind of start there, and for perhaps people who haven't heard that podcast or aren't aware of your work, give us a little background into what you have been creating over these past few months, and yeah, let's start there.
Sure. Yeah. So I do a lot of things, but like you mentioned, I work for Expectful. I'm also a writer, and I'm a yoga and meditation teacher as well. I kind of have my hands, and a podcast host. I have my hands in a lot of things. But yeah, so Expectful is a meditation platform. So we have an iPhone app, and then we also have a web app, and it's meditation for women who are trying to get pregnant or new moms. And I got involved in it. I didn't found the company, but I got involved in it through my own experience. When I was 7.5 months pregnant, I lost my job as a full-time yoga instructor, which, as you can imagine, was pretty difficult thing to happen when you're 7.5 months pregnant and you're about to welcome a baby into the world, and you lose your community, your income, and your identity, right? Your sense of self. So what happened is, the day that I got let go, I got an email from a good friend of mine who actually helps to write Expectful's meditations. His name is Daniel Ryan. He's a hypnotherapist. And he, at the time, Expectful was in beta. So they only had like a handful of pregnancy meditations. And my friend Dan was like, "Hey, Anna, I heard about what happened. I heard that, you just got let go from your job along with all the other yoga instructors that work there. I think that you should jump on this beta that I've been helping to write the meditations for, and just see what happens." So as I mentioned, I was a yoga instructor, which I think that a lot of people then associate that with me having a meditation practice. And that just wasn't the truth. I didn't. My practice was very much just a physical practice. And I looked at this as an opportunity because I am someone that tends to go towards depression when things get rocky. And this was definitely a rocky time. And I was concerned about not only how that could affect me for that last trimester, but also I intuitively knew that somehow the stress, anxiety, and depression that I was going down the rabbit hole of just couldn't be good for my baby. So I committed to trying out this Expectful beta with super low expectations. One, because it was beta. I mean, you always have low expectations for something like that.
Hey, the trial period is you can just explore. I mean, like you said, no expectations.
Yeah. So it was good that I didn't have expectations. I think that that's what really helped me to get so much out of it. So what happened is I was like, I'm very goal oriented. So I said, "Okay, Anna, first off, you have nothing else to do. So try out this meditation thing and just see what happens." So I said, every day for 30 days, I'm going to sit down and do one of these guided meditations. And to my really big surprise, within just a few days, like 3 or 5 days, I started to see a real shift in how I showed up in the world. I went from someone who was very upset, wanting to spend most of her time in bed, in the dark, indoors, never going outside, to someone that just started to regain energy, started to regain a different perspective on life. And I started going out for more walks. I started cooking more, and my husband didn't even know what to do with that because he's so used to when things get bad, I go bad. I go dark, he says.
He was certainly thrown off. It sounds like he was like, "What is going on?"
Yeah. And he even came home one day, I'll never forget. And I had the whole meal done. And he was like, "What's happening?" And I was like, "Oh, well, the only thing that I changed was I started meditating." So then I started thinking about it, and I was like, wow, this is really changing my life, and what it really did for me as a pregnant woman was it allowed me to connect with my baby on a level I hadn't the entire pregnancy. So it turned my 3rd trimester, the one where I lost my job and was scared about money after I gave birth, into the best trimester, just from making myself be able to be present with my daughter before she came into the world. So that's how I got into Expectful. What happened is, to why I work with them now, is 2 weeks after I gave birth, the founder, Mark, he created Expectful as a tribute to his mother, who suffered from anxiety when she was pregnant, and as a mother to him. He reached out to me, and we had talked because I gave him feedback on the beta just once. I thought that was it. And he was like, I just opened this position for a community guide on Expectful. And before I send this out to anyone, I want to see if you're interested. And 2 weeks after giving birth, I didn't even know what my name was, but I knew I wanted the job.
The mommy brain fog. Yes,
exactly. And I remember like getting off the phone with him, hearing his story, and just walking out of my bedroom and looking at my husband. I was so disheveled and just being like, I need your help. Like, I want this job. I need your help. I have an interview in like a few days. So he helped me to kind of prepare, and I've been with the company ever since. And it's really just been Mark and I, for a big chunk, we kind of went through the ringer, just trying our best to make this into an app. And then we started to pull people into our team, which is just like family now. We're a team of 6, which I think that people think we're much bigger, but we're a super tight team of 6. And yeah, it's been a great ride. Now we moved into the fertility space and the motherhood space and have just been expanding ever since.
Wow. I don't know how many times you've told this story, either on podcasts or with family, but I'm having chills hearing this story. It's just so beautiful. I mean, embedded in there is this synchronicity of the timing of recording the beta versions with this period where, like you said, you were already expecting. You're like, I am going down the depression road, and through it all, through perhaps some of the most traumatic and troubling experiences, you come out flourishing and creating just incredible work. And there's so many ways I would love to take this, but I'm just sitting here like this story, as I tell some of my friends, is you can't make that up. I wish I was creative enough to come up with those stories, but thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it speaks to, when people hear stories like that, behind products or behind different types of media, it resonates so much deeper than, and it's not to paint a picture of superficial sort of business ventures, but when you hear a story like that, you're like, this person just poured their heart and soul into creating something that they had no idea what it was going to turn into, or like you said, no expectations. And when I hear things like that, it really resonates with me. And so thank you for taking that leap and being, going through the period of, mommy brain fog and disheveled, but just like sitting down and realizing like, maybe actually I wasn't a meditator originally, but maybe this is what is, called for me right now. And so I'm just kind of rambling a little bit here, but just thank you so much for doing this. It's incredible to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking. I mean, I think that you're right. It's when you go into things without expectations. To me, at least through my journey with Expectful and talking to so many women, hundreds of women through working for this company and through my own experience, it's just when you let go of expectations, I think that's when anything flourishes. And I dove deep into that actually one day because I was thinking about control and how we control things in our lives and how sometimes control can hold us back, right? We think it's something that's taking us forward, but I had this feeling inside that was something that could hold us back. And I looked up the definition, and it's something that I share with a lot of women on the platform, especially ones that are trying to get pregnant, is that one of the definitions of control is to keep things from flourishing. And
wow.
I thought that was like the most interesting definition. Because it shows that sometimes we need to let go, and sometimes we have to just get in the flow and go for the ride and let go of the walls that we've built around us. So yeah, it's what I've been trying to do with my story. Follow that.
I mean, I completely hear it. And I mean, just interestingly enough, one of my favorite meditations in the app is one talking about letting go and kind of giving into the moment and letting free those needs to control the situation. So I think now I'm starting to kind of see like where all of that and the energy and that meditation is coming from.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of curious. So some listeners are probably wondering like, okay, so she's talking about an app for pregnant moms and, expecting moms. And here I am, interviewing you, and like, so why is he listening to these meditations? And so, I when I first heard this, I was actually so I just started my family medicine residency program and kind of been all over the place, but I've spent some time in our clinic and a little bit in our nursery, and I've spent quite a bit of time with new moms and expecting mothers, and have come across just a lot of anxiety and a lot of frustration, and more so in the kind of after birth period. But when I heard this, I was like, this tool could be just so wonderful for people in all stages of their pregnancy, preconception and during the pregnancy itself, and following birth, and connecting with the baby. And I had been kind of struggling up to that point with what could I offer, how could I connect with some of my patients, some of the mothers, because it's this sort of strange time where it can sometimes be difficult for us as doctors to want to impose upon mothers and say, you should meditate, or like, these are the, and trying to allow people to kind of create their own space, but to have a resource that's, almost entirely made for their flourishing. I don't have to really do much of an elevator an elevator sort of pitch to them. And so, was kind of curious to see, I've had a little bit of experience so far in sharing this with mothers, but I was curious. You started this Facebook sort of social support space, which you alluded a little bit to earlier, and I've joined the group and seen some just tremendous commentary and back and forth between folks. But I was curious, since this has come out, what has been your experience like with moms using this app, or mothers trying to conceive? What has been your experience so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's been beautiful, quite honestly. I don't think there's a better word to describe it throughout the whole process. So as I mentioned, we started with pregnancy, and those were the early stages when I was a brand new mom talking to pregnant women, where we were still in beta. So I actually had like one-on-one conversations with these women that were on beta and really got to know their story. And what I was hearing is just that it felt like a place where pregnant women could come and really feel like they were getting it right. So during pregnancy, there's so much to do, and there's so much noise coming in about what's safe and what's not, and what you can eat and what you can't eat, and how you can move and how you can't move. And it quite honestly, it gets really overwhelming at times. And that's where it falls into the emotions, right? That's where it falls into women starting to experience anxiety, starting to feel like they're not good enough, starting to feel like they're not prepared to become a mother, fill in the blank. Like, there's so many things that pop up for us. And what this tool did was, the meditations, first off, they're guided. So the women didn't have to do anything, right? Like, they just had to sit there and listen to this voice guide them through the process. So they had a support system through every single one. And it helped them just to be able to come back to the present moment, to find perspective within their pregnancy. And most importantly, as I touched on before, to really connect with their baby and come back to the core of what it means to be pregnant, and to be able to sit with your baby and just, be in that moment with them, which is so powerful, right? So that was the main things that I heard, was just, I've never been able to connect with my baby like this. Like, it turned my pregnancy around. A main thing that happens, which is like our number one meditation used on all the libraries, is it helps women sleep. And it's a big thing for pregnant women. They have trouble sleeping, and trouble sleeping, as we know, can lead to more stress, can lead to like decreased immunity, which meditation helps to increase your immunity, to anxiety. There are so many things. And what our sleep meditations do is just help them either fall asleep, or if they wake up in the middle of the night, we have ones for them to return to sleep. So that's been a big one as well. For fertility, which is our most recent library that we've introduced, we've had women, I've had women contacting me and telling me after they've been trying for 2 years, within the next 4 months or within 4 months of using the platform, 2 to 4, they've become pregnant. So they've been dropping this stress, this anxiety, this overcoming these emotions that are so strong during the preparing to conceive process. And they've been able to conceive after that. And in motherhood, because we have a motherhood library as well, which is really important to me. One of the first things I really wanted to do when I joined Expectful was to create motherhood meditations. We've helped women regain their sense of self after they become a mother, which loss of identity is huge, helping mothers sleep, which we know as well is a big thing, and helping them focus, just helping them be able to kind of take their brain and not multitask as much and be able to focus on one thing at a time, which is a difficult thing when it comes to having a newborn. And across all the platforms, we've helped women connect with their partners. We have couples meditations where you can sit down, maybe back to back, sitting down or lying down, holding hands, and just allowing the partner to really get in on this whole experience. So that's it in a nutshell.
Oh, just, a few people here and there who were like, yeah, this is sort of helpful. Oh my goodness. You're literally giving, rise to new life and being this just giver of hope. And you hit on so many areas where, helping mothers with their health and allowing them to flourish even outside of, the conceiving. I love that whole, I've been trying to have a baby for 2 years and going through this period. And then within 3-4 months, simply using, this app, using these meditations, being able to center and to conceive. It's really, I'm kind of wordless with the work that you've done. And I, once again, sort of sitting here, I could go in so many directions. But, I really was curious. I kind of wanted to go back to something you had mentioned in the beginning. So you described yourself as a yoga teacher. And, I actually, when I was kind of first coming back to school, I had sort of practicing yoga. And it was maybe more gym yoga or more of a physical practice, and sort of had an outside meditation and didn't really see the two as cohesive. And it wasn't until I did some training, sort of a yoga teacher training with a wonderful group through the Vinny Yoga Institute, and my teacher Gary Craftshow, he put it very simply. He's like, yoga and meditation, I don't know why you're using separate terms. Meditation is a practice within the greater sort of livelihood, the greater practice of yoga. And it wasn't until I spent time in that training where I really saw the purpose of asana, or the physical practice, and the purpose of pranayama, and seeing the role of meditation and mantra and all of these things connected as this, under this greater umbrella of yoga. And what I had been doing was just sort of kind of asana practice up to that point, and really kind of focusing in on some of the true aspects of the meditative experience and bringing in prayer. And I think, our culture in general, when I see and look around at some people practicing yoga, I think they describe something kind of similar to yours. Maybe this, I was a yoga teacher, I practiced yoga, but when it came to meditation, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. I like to go in and move my body, and actually I don't like sitting down. And so I was just, sitting here realizing you took on this sort of experience of wanting to sit down, listen and record these meditations, but also identifying that this wasn't something that you felt you had experienced before. And just, to me, that sounds a little intimidating. It's I'm stepping completely into some waters that I don't feel comfortable doing. And I just, I'm a little amazed, but was curious, where did you draw some of the inspiration behind the content of the meditations? And you can get as granular as you want, but what did you do to bring to that experience when you were, recording these meditations?
Yeah, sure. So, when I was in beta, so the founder of Expectful, Mark, he really got into skimming through what meditation is and how meditation resonates with people. And he read a bunch of books, and he listened to numerous, audios on different teachers leading meditations. And he found a certain special sauce, so to speak, that he thinks really would resonate the most with women who are pregnant, preparing to conceive, or new moms, meaning language-wise, so using certain language rather than others. And he's not a meditation teacher, right? Like, he started this because meditation changed his life. And then because of his mom suffering from anxiety, he thought, what would have happened if she would have meditated while she was pregnant with him or as a new mom? So from there, because he was very aware that he didn't know how to create meditations, but he knew the language he wanted to use, he contacted one of the people that I mentioned, Daniel Ryan, who's a hypnotherapist, and another woman who Dan works with, who's another hypnotherapist as well. And they went in, the three of them, and created these beta meditations. And Mark had interviewed a bunch of pregnant women to kind of understand what the hurt points or the pain points were of pregnancy, so that he could create meditations that would help to solve them, right? To help the women. And when I came on, I came into that process and became the person that was kind of giving the feedback from a first perspective, right? So I'm a pregnant woman who was at the time only spending her time interviewing other pregnant women about meditation, about the difficulties of and challenges of pregnancy. So that's what I really brought to the table. And we would sit down and say, what are the meditations we want to create? So we would give Dan and this woman, Cheryl, the other hypnotherapist, titles and say, this is what we want it to be about. And then Dan and Cheryl would go and write them. And then we would work as a team together to skim through them and take out things and add things. And then we have a voice. The voice of Expectful is this woman called Biette, which I'm laughing because I recently saw on her Instagram that someone called her the Louis C.K. of meditation, because she's just like super funny. But she has this
she could probably take that
voice.
Yeah. I would love to meet her in purpose, in person to maybe say, to agree with that. But hey, I've loved her voice so far.
Yeah, her voice is beautiful, and that's another reason I think why Mark was like, ask Biette to be the voice. So after, as a team, we kind of go together and dissect these meditations, and we hand them over to Biette. We go into a sound studio and Biette records them. So that's kind of like the core of how the meditations get created. But what it really funnels down to is what the women need, right? And making sure that we use language that doesn't make them feel defensive or doesn't make them feel like they're doing it wrong or anything like that. So it's really just about giving them what they need.
That is so beautiful, so simple, and yet so beautiful. And I mean, I can visualize these, the rooms of you guys, or whether it's through the computer or, literally sitting in the same room, having these conversations and going through and taking such care with each individual word.
Yeah, we really do. We challenge each other on words. Yeah, it's actually really fun.
Sure you do. I mean, I see it. And so I tend to write poetry. I get inspired by my grandfather, and part of writing poetry is that process of whittling down words or selecting words, being so precise that knowing the cadence and just the nature of your language is so critical to the reader. And I've never really, I've recorded some meditations and led groups, and I've been purposeful, but I've never been caught up on, well, if I say the wrong word, it's just I'm just being more present. But you can tell that you guys took so much time and dedicated to provide exactly the language that, your audience needed. And I think it's hilarious. I'm sitting here and I'm not even your target audience. And I think it's I'm, embodying parts of that sort of, feminine, what does this woman need in this moment? And it's phenomenal. I'm amazed. And I love hearing about that process. The creative process to me is just, I could go off into another tangent, but hearing how you guys sort of work in this small team to share these ideas and to get to this final product, because sometimes we kind of gloss over, we just get, we get the app or we get whatever, the final product, and we don't really realize the process that went into it. So thank you for sharing some of that.
Yeah, thank you for noticing all the effort that goes in. It was nice to kind of rehatch it.
Yeah, so you walked us through a few of the the sections and, kind of spoke to the journey of the mother and with the different trimesters and sort of into motherhood and how you've structured some of the meditations to align with those periods of time. And was kind of curious if you could talk a little bit about, sort of the vision behind that, which, seems like, okay, it seems fairly logical. There's this time sequence, but, what are things that you guys are continuing to work on, both sort of professionally and yourself as a new mother?
So we're always working on creating the best content that we can. And we look at ourselves as an emotionally impactful company. Like, we want to speak directly to what the woman needs at all times and to really kind of pull her heartstrings, and let her know this is a place where she can come to feel safe and supported. So that's always like the eye of what we're trying to do. And we're always looking to add more meditations, more getting in. We have delivering your baby, and we have ones for preparing for labor. So ones that you could do, the last few weeks of pregnancy, and then ones that you can do during labor. So that's another library that I think in the future we would want to expand into. And then we have other visions, perhaps getting into more childbirth classes or more classes that women would need, perhaps, and putting that on the platform. But right now, we're really just focusing on getting the idea of meditation out into the world. So it's our hope that in the next 5 years, we could make meditation as common as prenatal vitamins. And what we mean by that is that when you go into your doctor's office, so when I was pregnant, I went into my OBGYN office and he was like, okay, here's some prenatal vitamins. You don't need a nutritionist because you know what you're doing, but like he would have gave me a nutrition person. And I asked him about exercise and he was just like, you're fine. And I was like, okay. And then I left and I had went in thinking that when I went into that appointment, I would feel so much better, because when you get pregnant, everything gets flipped because you don't know what you can and cannot do. And you look to someone to give you those answers. And the truth is, no one can really give you the answers. You do need to find them yourself. But I believe that we need a tool that can help us realize that. And that to us is meditation, whether it's expectful meditation or any form. It's more our mission just to make it that women understand that meditation and your emotional well-being is really important throughout this entire stage. So that's really our main mission, our focus going down the line, is just to keep pushing forward and keep talking about the science behind all of this, to keep just, hitting the nail on the head of making this just as important as exercise, just as important as nutrition and minerals and vitamins, because it is. And for some reason, it hasn't been in line with them, because it's not more important, but it is just as important.
Once again, just sitting here nearly wordless. I almost wanted to jump in and say, I'd rather meditation be more common than prenatal vitamins. We could go over to another tangent. I have some issues with some of the things in prenatal vitamins, and it's almost treated sort of just like you said, as sort of candy. And it's like, well, maybe it's even like an excuse for not eating well during pregnancy. And
right.
I love the increasing the awareness of this practice and making it so common. It's a way of life, and giving people a tool that they feel like they have ownership of. I realistically, supplements or drugs, any of these things, there's not much ownership of. Yes, you can control whether you take it, but it does feel like someone's prescribing you something or telling you need to do something. And the fact that you can make this practice your own and see a change being so dynamic through the different stages of life. I mean, I share that same mission of wanting to make this practice so common in all walks of life. And I've probably poured a little bit more of my time into working with children and trying to introduce some of the concepts of mindfulness and introducing some concepts of meditation and prayer kind of specifically in my church community. And I loved having this resource because I found, like I mentioned earlier, that this arena of pregnancy and motherhood was something that I didn't know how to really enter. I always felt just a little bit of an outsider trying to potentially tell a mother what was best for her, and expecting mom what was best for her, and just feeling like they were going to be looking at me like, you have no idea, what are you saying again? Like, what do you think you know? And so just so grateful to have these resources. And I guess I would have a few more thoughts I'd like to maybe get your opinions and your beliefs on. But we've been using this term meditation, and I kind of even threw in the concept of sort of mindfulness here. And to some people, perhaps this is a completely new term, and or it's a term that they've just has become more popularized and they've seen, but it's not something that really kind of resonates or really means anything beyond that sort of surface impression from public media. And so was curious, given your experience from sort of early years to now, what does meditation and mindfulness or yoga, any of those things, what does that mean to you?
I mean, it means life to me, and I'll break that down. So before I started meditating, I was a living being, right? Like, I had emotions and I had thoughts, and I was very easily triggered. Like I said, I went to depression very quickly, and I didn't have a good sense of who I was, and I didn't know that. But when I started meditating, what shifted is my perspective on life and how I live in it and how I show up in the world. And to me, mindfulness gives me the opportunity to actually live life while I'm on this planet, and to really be present in the simplest of moments. And a good example of this is my meditation led me to every day that I walk my daughter to our car, which is like a 10-minute walk because I live in New York, to take her to daycare. I decide that in that moment, I am present with her on that whole walk. And I don't care if she stops a billion times. She often stops and just starts dancing in front of the store that plays music. And it usually takes wonderful. She's crazy. She's a crazy kid. But what meditation allowed me to do is let her be herself, and to let myself be completely present when she's doing that. And I don't care if that walk takes us 45 minutes. I don't care if we're really late. I don't care, honestly, about any of it, because I know that my time on this earth and her time on this earth is very limited. And I really attribute that to meditation. I attribute my life and my sense of self and the time that I get to spend here being so deeply present and so in love with the beauty that is this world and the people in it. That is meditation and mindfulness to me. And it's so important, not just to me, but that imagine a world with like a bunch of people that cared and had so much empathy and so much compassion towards one another and saw the beauty in every moment. I just think it would be amazing.
It sounds like an incredibly beautiful world, perhaps the closest thing to a utopia or a heaven on earth that I can imagine. I so many things once again there. I just hearing that intention, that message. I've personally, I have no real political interest, no political background, but every now and then I sort of like a little seed in my head says, why, keep it open in the future. Perhaps, you'd be directed to do something sort of political on a larger scale to introduce these concepts of kind of reforming our education system and promoting health and wellness with this, yes, diet and nutrition, but having a goal of wanting to spread compassion and kindness and allow people to be more fully aware in their lives so we can be present for those most in need and those closest to us. And who knows what the years ahead will hold, but I sometimes daydream about those ideas, like what would our society look like if we embodied that mindfulness. And I love that story because it's so similar to my own life. I've been blessed with so much love in my own life. My girlfriend has a couple animals, 2 dogs, and living with her. Usually, I'll get up a little bit before her and take the dogs to go get some food, and usually go to take them out for a walk. And one of the dogs, Xena, she's totally she's wants to run around and just and do her own thing. And our little kind of Chihuahua Cujo, he's a little bit slower. He's got really tiny legs, so give him a break. But he'll want to stop at just every kind of little small thing to sniff, to smell, and to occasionally actually pee. And I kind of gave up a while ago, like thinking I had an agenda, or like this walk's going to take 15, we're going to do a 15-minute walk, and just being fully present with them. And usually in the early morning, it's just, especially now kind of moving into fall, having this crisp air and the birds, and just walking and being fully present with them. Just like you said, like, maybe this will be the last time I'll be able to give them a walk. And it's not meant to be morbid. It's just like, it allows me to sit there and be present. And it has been so rewarding to kind of set that intention and have a little bit of that sort of mindful and meditative presence during these walks with them. And so when I heard that, I was like, that is exactly like what I've been trying to do too. And
it's funny. That's why, Expectful is so important to us, because we start at the root, right? Like what better place to start than with the mothers? Because they're the ones that are raising these kids. And if we start to create a world where mothers are more present and where they understand this concept of a short life, right? And of really living in the moment, they're just naturally going to put that into their child's, psyche or whatever it is. So that's why we look at our work as so important, because it really starts at the core of children. And that means starting at the core of what this world will become.
Yes, that was exactly actually where I wanted to kind of go next. Sort of, I know we were kind of coming up towards to time, but that was exactly kind of where I wanted to go. Next with this was as one sort of ask you, and you sort of answered it to some degree, was this concept of just by the way I am in the world, I can show my children how it is that we can show love to others or be kind to others, and without having to tell them explicitly, like, say thank you or be kind to that person. You're showing them and embodying this mindful awareness and this compassion. But I was kind of curious. What has your life looked like in terms of leading some of your daughter, your children, sort of into this space, in terms of very practically how have you introduced some of these concepts, or have you really just kind of embodied and lived it and tried to show it through your presence?
Yeah, I would say it's more I've tried to show it through my presence. I mean, my daughter turns 2 at the end of October. And to me, I mean, I had no idea how to raise a child before I had one. I'm the youngest of 7, so I never took care of, any babies. They all took care of me.
You were being taken care of.
Exactly. So I didn't even know how to change a diaper or how to hold a baby. I was, really like a deer in headlights when I gave birth. But what I've learned, and perhaps maybe it's good that I didn't have any training in it because everything was so new to me, is that this time in my daughter's life, the most important thing that I can do for her is to let her be herself, and to, of course, put boundaries around things where she could get hurt, or, tell her when not to do something as long as it's, if it could hurt her. But I want her to explore. I don't want her to be self-conscious. I want her to really embody who she is. So yeah, I do it through me, but I also do it through restraining myself from putting beliefs on her or society pressure that perhaps parents feel like they need to put on their children, or, to make sure that their children doesn't do this or their child doesn't do this or that. And instead, I'm letting her run the show because I think it's important for her development. And that's not to say that she doesn't have rules. She does. She goes to bed at the same time every day, but she also has a full-on dance party, for 10 minutes before she goes to bed because the girl likes to dance. I don't know where she got it from. I'm a horrible dancer, but she loves to dance. And I want her to feel that and to be able to let that be a part of who she is. And I hope that it continues even when she starts to get older and starts to have that societal pressure to be something other than who she is.
I guess, we should all strive to have our own dance parties and not be
Totally.
afraid to just go there. I know and working with elementary age kids at my church, we play and I'm every Sunday I'm dancing somewhere, somehow.
That's amazing.
Just playing with these kids, and it gives me so much energy. And so, yeah, we all have to find our own dance party and just not be afraid to live it. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing the space. I had just kind of one more, well, it's kind of a two-part question, but
cool.
Kind of one final area to go into and before we close, but was curious if you could give perhaps, and since you are a mother, this is how I kind of couch giving advice to other people, especially some of my younger cousins, is I'm giving advice to my 18-year-old self, and you just happen to be present. Is what sort of, advice or words of wisdom or sort of just learned experience would you share with new moms or mothers to be, and as well sort of dovetailing from that, how about their partners and any sort of supporting family? Is there any pieces of wisdom or stories that you could offer either individual in those settings?
Yeah, I mean, for new moms, and I went through postpartum depression while meditating, so I definitely had a different journey. But with my experience with talking to so many new moms and my own experience, I would say, and this is interesting that this is coming up, but I would say you're not your thoughts, because I think it's really important, and I think it's something that not everyone realizes, that they're not their thoughts. And your thoughts don't have to run your show, and they don't have to go down a rabbit hole of making stories that aren't true. That you could actually just see your thoughts and let them go, let them just pass by, and continue on with your day, and not get wrapped into something that could really challenge your entire life. And I think that that's important for new moms, because when you just give birth, and there's so much to do and so much new stuff, and you just went through this huge transition and you're finding your new sense of self, I think it's important to be really aware of your thoughts and to be really aware that you're not them. And for partners to mothers, I would say 100% just show up and support your partner that just went through labor, or the mother that just got the baby. Just be like a light for them, because that's what they really need, and show up in a way that is encouraging, and don't bring baggage with it. Just show up. Just show up.
Once again, I love it. One of my residency, one of our assistant directors, shared with us, he's like, just try, guys, with your heart, just try, kind of without expectations, just try. And he's like, and show up to work. And there's like, be present. And I think you're right. Just show up, be fully present in the way that you can, without expectation, without judging, and walk from there. So those were so wonderful pieces of just, wisdom. And I hope, to whoever's listening, mother, partner, or anywhere else in between, that if you found something here in this conversation that resonated with you, take it into your life and share it with people in your life who you think could benefit. I mean, it gives me chills realizing, what the inspiration from Mark and why he wanted to bring this to a greater audience from his own personal experience. But please share this with your community. And I guess, I would love to get from you some of the perhaps details with how people can connect with you or find the apps, whether on the phone or on the computer. How can people connect with you in this community?
Yeah, sure. So they can go to expectful.com and sign up for their 14-day free trial. So you can sign up, get 14 days free, try out the meditations. And, if you like them, you can stay with us. And same thing in the App Store. So we have an iPhone app where you can type in Expectful and you'll find us there as well. And I also have the Expectful podcast. So if you want to come hang out with me in iTunes or Stitcher, I'm over there too.
I would take her up on that offer, guys. It's just, I've been blown away. I've been a part of a few kind of social support communities, sort of not directly as a individual in them, kind of a little bit on the sidelines. And it blows me away how much this social media can be an empowering and connecting media form. And yes, there's the dark sides of everything, but I've just loved sort of seeing the opportunity for people to connect and to grow. And so definitely take her up on this offer, give this a try. And it has shown me so much in my life. And I am, neither a mother or expecting a baby to come into my life. And I've just found it to be so, so wonderful. So please check it out. And thank you so much again, Anna. There's a few people in New York that I need to get up to see, and if I accumulate enough reasons to get up there, I think I think God will eventually allow me to find my way to the city. But I think our paths will cross in the future. But in the meantime, I just so grateful to have connected with you and for you to share this space with me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for your presence and willingness to receive a new narrative, a passionate perspective, and perhaps a deeper sense of connection with our collective purpose. Please share this podcast with any and all that you believe will benefit from its intention to relieve one's doing and engage one's being. Please share your comments about the conversation on our podcast page and leave a review in iTunes so that the voices in this space can spread to all ears ready to receive it. Music credit goes to Dillingham for their song Vessel. Remain open, stay curious, and forever be love.
You walked on fire, and I know you tried.